Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit north node, square opposition, or inconjunct one's natal south node. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve the north node, they can be about one's future, mission, purpose, destiny, what you're learning and aspiring to be, where you're directed toward. It could also be about issues that one may have to confront and address. Now, when you have the transit of the north node basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal south node, I'm going to elaborate on it. When I say basically adverse aspect, okay, squares and oppositions, of course, those are adverse and negative aspects in astrology. Now, the inconjunct is a neutral aspect, but a neutral aspect can have good and bad qualities in them. So, and also an inconjunct can involve an adjustment, a transition, and that, of course, can cause some tension and exasperation. So, collectively, basically, I do see this as an adverse or negative transit. Now, again, when transit north node is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal south node. Well, it could manifest in one's future, one's destiny, mission, purpose, what you're learning and aspiring to be, where you're directed toward. Could be issues that one may have to address and confront. Those things might conflict with your past at this time. You're having really, it's basically the future conflicting with the past. There may be things that are lingering from the past that are preventing you from moving forward. If the transit south node, say, is in Cancer in the fourth house, it could be like a very clingy, very dependent family member or someone you're close to home with is not allowing you to move ahead and go further. Of course, then you would have the transit of the north node in Capricorn in the 10th house, and that's more about trying to fulfill your career ambitions and having structure and discipline in one's career situation. And the thing is, too, you're also could be just generally torn between moving forward, between developing qualities and attributes associated with this transit. It's really adversarial toward what you're trying to leave behind. And it could be like, I would say, especially with the opposition, you might feel like you're in a tug of war, between the two at this time. The south node is where you feel comfortable, and it's where you can be somewhat complacent. And when you have the transit north node, it's really saying, it's really conflicting with the transit of the north node, which is about what, things that may need to be addressed and confronted. It could be the development of the attributes and qualities connected with the sign, but those are things right now that that could be conflicting with what you're trying to leave behind at this time, and things that are connected with your past that might be hard to just extricate yourself from at this time. Now, some of you may believe in past lives, and for those of you, out of respect for those that do believe in past lives, the south node can be connected with. They could be connected with somebody that might have been prominent in your in the not just the past, could be someone prominent in the past life, if that is what you believe. And it could be that somebody that might be from a past life, if you have it, like, say, in the south node in the 10th house, could be a mentor. Aquarius, and if it's a south node in Aquarius in the 10th house, it could be an astrology or an astronomy mentor teacher, as an example. And it might make it difficult for you to be trying to move forward at this time, because again, you might be torn between the north node energy, which is about the future. The south node, again, is about the past, what you're trying to leave behind. Could be what you feel naturally comfortable in and complacent in. Now, the south node could be actually what you could be naturally proficient in as well. And the thing about it is, when you have the transit of the north node, basically, it's adversarial to the south node placement. What makes it hard, this transit, is not, I'm not just saying just the simple fact it's basically an adverse transit, but the fact that the south node, again, is what you're very comfortable and complacent with, you could be naturally proficient in. Those things are going against what you need to, well, at this point in time, what you need to develop And the thing is, like, if you have this in opposition, if the transit north node is opposing your south node, you're pretty much in that, the nodal return at this time, which makes it a very significant period, because of course, when you have south node placement, your north node is automatically, it's opposite, exactly opposite that south node placement. So if you're having this opposition take place, and in most cases, the north node, the transit north node, is going to be in that same sign as your natal placement. It's essentially, I mean, it is the nodal return. Now, the thing is, the south node is also can be connected with those overdeveloped and redundant qualities that one may have. And the thing about it is, I mean, say again, going back to Aquarius, if the south node, the natal south node, is in the zodiac sign Aquarius, it could be somebody that's just very, non-conforming, just for the sake of being non-conforming and rebelling, just the sake of being unique. And I'm not saying this a person's, climbing up walls, with suction cups on their hands and doing, all kinds of bizarre things. But the thing about it is that south node placement is just about, could be about somebody that is just being, unique, just for the sake of being unique, and might be harder to get away from that general south node energy at this point in time, because you have, again, the transit north node is about the future. You might be you feel like you're being pulled toward it, but the south node may be trying to hold you back at this time. So it does make it a tough transit for one to have to contend and deal with at this time. And the thing about it is, you might, the north node, is about, what you're learning and aspiring to be. It's moving forward. It could be, again, about issues you may have to address and confront, and it could be, the redundant qualities that are connected with the south node may be conflicting with that. And, if you have the south node in Cancer, again, I mean, could be someone that's very, might be, energy, sadly, that might be like exceptionally introverted or self-conscious, and it might be harder for you to go ahead and move forward because of that, as an example. Now, the south node can also be connected with could be the negative manifestation of the sign as well. And the thing about it is, the negativity, connected with the south node may be causing difficulty in moving forward, which is connected with the north node. Let's say, for example, if you have the natal south node in Taurus, it could be known overly, stubborn or obstinacy. It might be something where, a person might be so unwavering and just simply wants to be where they're at, and they have, such an aversion to change that it makes it harder for them to go actually forward. They're so connected with their creature comforts, their peace, and their security. And the thing is, it could be very hard to move forward in that example. Now, another thing is that the south node is about, what we're supposed to be going away from. And the thing is, the transit of the north node being in conflict with that energy, what you're supposed to get away from, can be difficult, because the north node is, again, it's about our future. It's about where you're directed toward. It might not be easy to try to grasp the future. When you have this aspect taking place, it can be very difficult, because you're trying, there's something that you need to perhaps get away from, which is the south node. But because you're talking about an adverse aspect, basically, the transit is such where it can be more difficult to actually do so. You may realize that you need to get away from that south node energy and pursue that north node, in transit, and what are you going to do with that? And it just makes it very, it can make it very tough, difficult to deal with at this time. And the thing about this is, the south node can be about what is could be affecting you to your detriment. And you might be feeling at this time, because the transit north node, again, is about your future. It's about moving forward. And the thing is, maybe you're thinking that that's going to be to your detriment, where the case is not, where that may not, that is not the case, really. The thing about it is, the positive in this, if you have an awareness of of astrology well, and you understand that the south node is connected, what could be affecting you to your detriment, that by all means, I mean, the future is what you're supposed to be going toward, and it's really trying to leave this negative energy behind at this point in time. And really that's what this transit makes it. Again, it's very rough because it's going right against what could be affecting you to your detriment, and it makes it harder perhaps to pull from that, because you're talking about it in basically adverse transit. Now the qualities, another way this transit, hold on a moment people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, another way this transit may manifest, it could be that the qualities and attributes that are needed to be developed may conflict where you feel complacent and what your comfort zone is at this time. Now, let's say, for example, if the transit north node is in Taurus in the third house, it could be perhaps you're trying to, the qualities you're trying to develop could be stability and persistence and constancy, which is Taurus, in your communications, which is the third house, having peaceful communications as well, perhaps. Now, and also with in peace with and stability matters with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. Now, another way the transit may be expressed, it could be that issues that you may need to confront and address may conflict with a person from your past. Now, let's say that if the transit north node is in Capricorn and the 11th house is an example, it can be the issues that you may need to address and confront could be limitations and responsibilities, which is Capricorn, and with friends perhaps, which is the 11th house. Now also too, where your future lies, which is the north node, may conflict with what you feel, what you're naturally proficient and adept in. If transit north node, say, is in Aquarius in the 6th house as an example, it could be perhaps trying to, your future may be tied into being, selfless, or even computer, which is Aquarius, might be service, which is the 6th house. And let's say, another thing too is if you're having the transit of north node in the 1st or 6th house in your chart, there may be health related issues that need to be dealt with. Say if it's in Sagittarius, it could be something with the sciatic nerve, the hips, the liver, the thighs, as even obesity as some examples. Anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.